In this video help, I'm going to be covering the sales invoice screen, but we're going to start out by going to the sales screen so you can see the linkage here. So let's go there. When you're in the sales invoice, it's important to know in the sales screen that as you build a row by row description of the items that are for that invoice for this client from this store, that you're going to use that information when you go to the invoice itself. One of the primary things you're going to need to know is those things. Who is the client? What is the sales ID? And what is the store? Let's go ahead and say, for example, just before I leave this screen to go to the invoice, I'm going to look at those three things. So it's sales ID 1, and for myself in this case, and it's for the Nut Tree store. So let's go over here and click on Show the Print Invoice. Now when I come to the screen, now you'll see why when I come to this screen, it will already pre-populate the information from the invoice where I was leaving and give the value of it. But notice that there's a number of those invoices on the screen that are showing in this area. What you need to do is you need to go into the Do Find, and what we're going to do is we're going to pick Sales Invoice ID number 1. And for the person, so it's Sales ID number 1 for me. And then I go ahead and say Perform the Find. The Perform Find brings up the item or items that were in that invoice. If there were a number of them, then it would bring up the number of invoices. In this particular case, it filled in all the prevalent information. It loaded the store location, the phone. It showed the exact information for what was in the invoice. Now, in this case, the invoice was already paid for. But as you're going to print a copy for the paid for invoice, it could have a balance. So if the person did not pay the full amount of the total of the invoice, you'll see a balance due here. But that's also an indicator that did you take the payment. If the person is leaving the store with the item and they have not paid for the entire amount, then you should check your invoice to make sure that you properly enter the data on the input screen for the sales invoice. You would go back to the sales invoice by clicking on Sales, and then take a look at the actual payment schedule to see that everything is paid and how it was paid if the balance is not 0. If you have any questions about how to use the invoice, you can go ahead and contact me for additional information or review the movie for the sales invoice screen to get more assistance. Thank you.